It's another edition of the Rink Report on ESC. Tom Gazzola with first timer on the Rink Report. My paisan, Uncle Gene.
Yeah.
Hey,
Northern Italy, Southern Italy are represented here.
Yeah.
North, South, North, South.
Very
with
pasty skin, nice olive tanned as usual. All right, Gino, we're late in training camp. Guys are being reassigned, sent down, released from their PTOs. What have you made of the first 2 weeks of training camp so far?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, anyone who's been on any kind of team and been cut, you really go, oh, you feel bad for people.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible to feel less, sympathetic for the early cuts, because you're like, well, early cut, they didn't really have a shot, so many of the kids are going back to junior. But these late cuts, when you're down to, it's me or you, or you or me, and then one of us is gone, that's always, I always could see even Chris Knobloch, you could tell the conversation was a tough one to have.
Yeah.
Because Chris didn't make it. Chris played in the minors and wanted to be an NHL player. He's been in those rooms on the other side of the desk receiving the news. So you can tell that it's tough. But as for camp itself, I think, Tom, camp is always long, but this one feels long, I think, just because maybe last season was so long and everyone's just, let's get the season underway.
Yeah.
At some point here, you hear it from the players now. They're kind of tired of, not tired, it's a necessary part of getting ready for the season, but they've kind of had enough of each other. They want to start to play someone else and have it count the stand.
One guy that hasn't been a full participant, he's been on the ice for the Skates, but hasn't played in a preseason game, Darnell Nurse. Sounds like he's going to be playing here in one of these last two. Gino, what do you make of this whole situation, how things are shaping up on the back end? Because that is where the question mark is with this team this year.
Yeah, it's amazing to think of this team nearly winning a Stanley Cup, and yet there are a lot of changes. Yeah. Some by their choice. I guess all by their choice in some ways, because even the offer sheets, they had a chance to match. Vinny Desharnais was available to them. Cody Ceci was traded by them. So it's a little bit strange to see so many changes. As for Darnell Nurse, actually watching, as you and I did today, he was as combative and as involved as I've seen him all camp. So I think that tells us. Chris Knobloch followed it up by saying he should play 1 or 2 games. So he looks fine. I think that's great for Darnell. I think that Darnell plays a lot of hard minutes when he's on the ice. So his 22 or 23 or 24, I'm sure some nights feels like even more because of just what he does and how he does it. So I'm glad that he's had a chance to kind of rest, but he's ready to go. And yeah, I mean, I'm watching Ty Emberson and thinking, can he play? I don't know.
Have you made any impressions of him and Brown and Stetcher? Dermott now?
Yeah, I think I know those guys you just mentioned more because I've seen them in the NHL more. I think Stetcher is virtually, a lock. He's close to 500 NHL games. I would know him the most. Yeah. Josh Brown, I know he's big and tough and gives you an element that really you don't have or you don't want necessarily Darnell Nurse doing that on a regular basis. And as for Travis Dermott, a childhood friend of Connor McDavid's and someone that has had a pretty good career in the NHL, there's not room for everybody at this point. So 1 or 2 of them will end up being sent down. But I like the depth. And I think it's, that's what Matthias Ekholm said earlier in camp. Because we don't have any sort of these huge names, which Evan Bouchard is developing into. And I think Ekholm is maybe selling himself short a little bit on that front. But as a group, I think they're going to be really good together, but it will take a little bit of time. I think Ty Emerson's the one that sort of piques my interest the most. He's played about 30 games in the NHL, but having said that, if he walked by us right now, I'm not sure I'd know who he is, right? So I'm looking forward to getting to know him.
You're the mayor of Edmonton.
Well, I will, and if he votes, I hope he votes for me, right, Ty?
Yes. Okay, and then the other storyline is that 13th forward position. Drake Caggiula's still here, remember? I mean, he was with the team 5-6 years ago. We've also got Noah Philp, who's kind of written a nice story here. What do you think happens? What's impressed you the most with these young guys?
Well, I'm going to start with James Hamblin, if I may.
You should, that's a good point.
I felt kind of bad for James. He came in, last year he was hurt, and he was sort of in on the cup run, but not, because he's not playing. So you're around it, but there's no better part than being in it. So I think James got himself healthy, and he's a little earlier cut than maybe we had thought. I think maybe he would have been one of those guys that right at the end may or may not make the team. So I feel bad for a local kid like James who's really poured his heart and soul, not only into the team but the community, but this is a professional business and you can't just do things for sympathetic reasons. No, Phil, amazing. I know you could take a year plus off from what you do. You come back and not miss a beat.
Sure.
But not many people can do that, especially in this game where over the last, let's say 16, 17 months, everybody's been training, skating, playing, working out, and Noah hasn't done some of those things. So credit to him, but big guy, strong guy, right-handed, on face-offs. So it's sometimes the little things make a big difference for him.
And Knobloch kept pointing that out, even today he did.
Yeah, and so I know, yourself, you're a hockey guy, you notice that, it's something you're aware of. A more subtle fan might not be as in tune with something like that, but a head coach and a hockey team, very much so, which way a guy shoots. His size is really enticing. He had a little bit of size, no Evander Kane. I'm not saying he's going to be Evander Kane when it comes to how rambunctious, but the fact that he has size and can use it if necessary is good to know. So I'm curious to see how it plays out on that final spot. Raphael Lavoie, who is at his best camp since he was drafted by the Oilers, in my opinion, but he's fought a couple of minor little injuries or injury that he's dealing with. So it'll be very interesting. I think what camp is all about is what we're going to end up seeing is that there's nothing worse than having, let's say, 2 games left like the Oilers have, and the lineup is set. But I think there's some things to be decided. When it comes to Leon Draisaitl's line, I think that's the one thing that we know, but we don't know. Right. As they get a chance to play together, I think everyone's kind of curious. And I thought Connor McDavid said something really neat. He goes the other night. He says, you see these 3 guys, you expect fireworks. They're going to put up 9 points together. And he's like, it's a lot of pressure. Like they barely know each other yet. They're starting to get to know each other. Leon's had success with every wingers. So I'm sure that will happen, but we'll see if it happens right away.
Right. Calvin Pickard, quick update on him. He's going to take shots on Wednesday. Did skate this morning, and that was the latest on the Oilers' backup. I know this. Hey, it's a lot of fun, Faizan. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. A lot of fun. You can have me on anytime.
There you go.
You know where to find me.
G. Principe on the Rink Report on this day as we head into the final 2 games of the preseason.